Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Tuesday, June the 8th. We have yet again another two-game slate today. As always guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk about each of these two games, work through this slate, go through each game and just hit on what stands out to me looking at this slate on Monday night, give you guys some early thoughts. So before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, I would appreciate it if you would click that like button down below, and if you are new to the channel here, be sure to click that subscribe button as well. I'm uploading a ton of NBA content right now. Even though the season's kind of winding down, we're starting to get closer to the end of the season. I'm still pumping out NBA content, and I'm pretty much going to be making NBA videos all the way up until the finals. Even when we only have like showdown slates, I'm going to start covering showdown moving forward. I'll have showdown videos out, even on days where there's only one game. So I'm pretty much going to have NBA videos up every single day. I'm still going to try and live stream Monday through Friday if I can, pretty much every day. So ton of content coming out right now. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new here, and also click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified every time I live stream. And yet again, guys, I will be live this afternoon, probably around the same time as yesterday, 5:30 Eastern. If you want to tune into the stream, I'll be live around 5:30, breaking down the slate, answering all you guys' questions, and just kind of talking through everything. So yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at Tuesday's two-gamer. We'll start off with the Hawks and Sixers game. We got game 2 of this series, and then late night game. We got the start of the other half of the Western Conference, semis, whatever. We got the Clippers and the Jazz. That should be a very fun series. I'm excited to watch that game. But starting off with Atlanta and Philly. On the Atlanta side, so you got Trae Young at the top here for 9,200. Trae did have a really good game in game 1 of this series. He played 39 minutes, had 58 Draftkings points. He had a really good first quarter. I think he had 30, or I can't remember how many points, but he had 25 or 30 DK points after the first quarter. Came out really hot. Had a typical game: 35 points, 10 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. We know Trae Young has this kind of upside. Trae Young has not been someone I've played too much in the playoffs so far. It seems like there's always other studs I prefer over him, and I kind of think that's going to be the case today. Once again, you have Joel Embiid, who I do like a lot as a pay-up option. You have Kawhi Leonard you can go to. You have Paul George. You have Donovan Mitchell, who I really like as well. I think Trae Young's going to fall behind some of those guys. Right now, I think I prefer Embiid. I think I prefer Mitchell and Kawhi as well. I think Trae will be somewhat low owned. I mean, on 2-game slate, everyone's going to get ownership. It's not like Trae Young's going to be 5% owned or anything, but I think he'll come in probably around 20 to 30%, which is fairly low for a 2-gamer. So if you want to go to Trae Young in tournaments, I don't mind that. But this is, not the best matchup against the Sixers. We saw Danny Green kind of guarding Trae Young a lot in that first game. I think they're probably going to kind of mix things up here. We might see Ben Simmons more on Trae Young. If Ben Simmons, is guarding Trae Young a lot, I mean, that's not great for Trae Young, but still Trae's such a good player. He can, win in any matchup. This is a tough spot, though, for Trae. I don't see him having massive success like he did last game. I don't think he's going to go out there and put up 55, 60 DK points every night. He's going to have some he's going to underperform in some of these games. I'm willing to bet this a game that Trae just kind of has 45, 50 DK points, and he winds up being an okay option, but not someone that you really have to have. And that kind of goes for a lot of these Hawks guys. Clint Capella at 7,800, I don't mind. He played 32 minutes last game. Didn't have a great game. This is a tough matchup against Joel Embiid. It's also a matchup where Capella could maybe get into some foul trouble. He was in foul trouble last game. Did have 5 fouls in those 32 minutes. I'm pretty sure even though he was kind of in foul trouble, they just kind of let him play through it. But yeah, it's a tough matchup for Capella. I don't think he really stands out today, but still viable on a 2-gamer. Same could be said for Bogdan, for John Collins. Bogdan at his price tag, I just haven't really been playing lately. I think I'm just going to keep fading him. I mean, he just doesn't feel like a guy you have to go to at 6,800. He feels priced right about now. He doesn't feel like someone you need to go to at this salary. If he was 6K today, I would have a lot more interest in Bogdan, but at almost 7K, don't think I need to go there. And same could be said for John Collins. John Collins is cheap. He's only 5,600, but he's just been so inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get from John Collins. He did have a decent game in game 1 of this series, had 33 DK points in 34 minutes. He probably plays 33, 34 minutes again. Does he score 33 DK points again? I have no idea. We just don't know what we're getting from Collins, but for 5,600, I think he's definitely in play on the slate. He actually is someone I have some interest in. I will be watching the status of DeAndre Hunter. I think this is where the Hawks at least where I like the Hawks the most is, the value that we have. So DeAndre Hunter did not play last game. They went with Solomon Hill in the starting lineup. Solomon Hill didn't play massive minutes. I think he played like 24, 25 minutes. Yeah, played 25 minutes, had 14 DK points. He's only 3,400, so for 3.4K, if you want to go to Solomon Hill, if he starts again for Hunter, you could do that, but I think the guy that really benefits without Hunter is Kevin Huerter, and we kind of saw that last game. He played 29 minutes. He clearly should get more playing time with Hunter off the floor. Hunter was playing around 30 to 35 minutes a night, so those minutes are going to have to go somewhere, and I expect Kevin Huerter to be the guy that picks up a lot of those minutes. He was really productive in that time, had 30 Draftkings points. I would like Kevin Huerter a lot today for value if Hunter is out. If Hunter plays, I think he could be someone you look to for value. 4,100, he's super cheap. He wasn't great in that Knicks series. He was really inconsistent. He was kind of up and down, but I assume he plays his normal minutes if he's good to go. And if he plays like 34, 35 minutes, 4,100, getting a guy this cheap that's going to play 30-plus minutes, it's kind of hard to find on these two gamers. So I like Hunter for value if he's able to play. If he's out again, I like Huerter for 4,300. And I think John Collins is a good mid-range option. I think Trae Young is fine to pay up for, but there's other guys I prefer. And that probably does it for Atlanta. I don't see too much else I like here. So moving on to the Philly side, talking about the Sixers. We got Joel Embiid at the top for 10K. Embiid right now, I think is probably my favorite pay-up option on the slate. I like him a lot on both sides, especially on Yahoo where this goes for DraftKings too, but on Yahoo you have to play at least one center. Your options at center are, you pretty much have three options. You're either going to play Embiid, Rudy Gobert, or CAPELA. I don't see any reason to go to Dwight Howard. Last game with Embiid back, Dwight Howard only played 8 minutes. There's no punt options. I guess you could play Zubac, but his minutes have just been all over the place. I will be interested to see what the Clippers do with their starting lineup. This is a new matchup against Rudy Gobert. Like, do they go with Marcus Morris at center like they did in the last series against the Mavs? I don't know. Maybe they change up the starting lineup and start Zubac. If that would be the case, then yeah, Zubac would be viable. But on Yahoo, you have, in my opinion, you have three playable centers. That's Embiid, CAPELA, and Rudy Gobert. And I think Embiid's the guy that I do want to get to on Yahoo for $46. Now, I will mention that he is currently questionable. I'm assuming Embiid plays. He was questionable last game, and he played. He should be good to go here. Obviously, in the playoffs, these guys are going to play through injury. They're going to do whatever it takes to be on the floor. And Embiid was not limited at all last game. He was clearly, good to go. He played 38 minutes, had 62 DraftKings points. If we're getting full minutes from Embiid, if he plays 35 to 40 minutes, at 10K, it's expensive. He did get priced up a decent amount, but we know Embiid has massive upside. We know he's an incredibly productive player when he's on the floor. There's nobody that can guard him one-on-one. He's just too good, man. He's too good. So at 10K, love Embiid on this slate. He's my favorite pay-up option right now. And then you have Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons. I think with Embiid back, I don't have as much interest in these guys. I did like them a lot whenever Embiid was out for that stretch of games. I think it was 1 or 2 games Embiid was out. And you saw these both, Harris and Simmons do really well. Harris was still solid last game. He had 43 DK points in 36 minutes, but I don't think at 8,300 he's going to be someone you really have to go to. He could go out there and put up 45 DK points again, but I think it's unlikely he goes for like 50, 55, which is kind of what you're looking for at his price tag. And then Ben Simmons, he also had a pretty decent game, 46 DK points in 37 minutes. He didn't smash or anything, but he was pretty good for his salary. I think both Harris and Simmons they're solid options, but I don't think either one would be like the first guys in. Whenever Embiid was out, you just play Simmons, you play Harris, and you move on. I don't think that's the case now. Now that Embiid's back, I think these guys definitely take a hit, but they're still in play. They're going to get massive minutes. I still like them, just not as much of priorities as they were whenever Embiid was out. I would say that if I had to pick one of Simmons or Harris, I definitely would lean Ben Simmons, just because Ben Simmons, can do more with the peripherals. He can give you that triple-double upside. He doesn't need to score as much. Harris is kind of scoring dependent. Harris can still rebound really well, but Ben Simmons can go out there and get you 8 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists. He's got so much peripheral upside, so I give the edge to him over Harris if I had to pick one of the two. But both are solid. I would say neither one are like priorities for me though. Seth Curry though I do like a lot at 5K. I was pretty high on him last slate and he played really well. In 36 minutes had 33 DK points. He's 5K. He was 5,100 last slate. His price went down a little bit to 5K. If we're going to get 34, 36 minutes from Seth Curry, his production's somewhat up and down. He's kind of a scoring-dependent player. He's not going to do much outside of score. He's not really going to rebound or get a ton of assists, but if he's going to be out there for 36 minutes, we know Seth Curry is a really good scorer. He's a really good shooter. He's a very efficient shooter. At 5K, I'm willing to bet that Curry, does enough to pay off this price tag. If he's going to continue to get these minutes, he's going to be a guy that I continue to roster, especially until they raise his price. While he's 5K, I think Seth Curry is a guy that I still have a lot of interest in at this salary if he's going to continue to see 30-plus minutes on a nightly basis. And on Yahoo, he is super cheap over there. Really like Seth Curry on Yahoo, only $13. Way too cheap on Yahoo. Then you have Danny Green at $4,700. I think Danny Green and Seth Curry are both in play. I prefer Curry, though. I think Curry just has more upside. He's a better scorer. He just can do more. But Danny Green's going to start, play 30 to 32 minutes. Not a guy that you really love to roster, but could Danny Green go out there and knock down a couple threes, get a couple rebounds, get a couple assists, maybe get a couple steals, a block or two? He could give you 25, 30 DK points in 30 minutes. He's done it before, but at $4,700, he feels priced about right. I don't think Danny Green is like a glaring value today, but still viable on a little 2-game slate. Dwight Howard, though, I have no interest in. With Embiid back, I don't see any reason to go to Howard. Tyrese Maxey for $3,900. I think with Embiid back also takes a pretty big hit. We're just not going to see him play as much. He's not going to be as productive when he's on the floor. Like if you're getting 40 minutes from Simmons, 40 minutes from Harris, 40 minutes from Embiid, it just makes it tough to go to some of these bench guys because they're just not going to play enough to be rosterable. So that does it for the Sixers. I think really I'm just going to focus on the starters here. Simmons, Harris, Curry, Embiid, Danny Green. I think those are the only viable Sixers today. I don't really have any interest in anyone else. So yeah, that does it for the first game. We'll move on to the next game, talk about the Clippers and the Jazz. So on the Clippers side today, you got Kawhi Leonard at the top for $9,900. Kawhi was a guy that I rostered a lot, in that last series against the Mavs. I pretty much played him, I think, just about every slate. He was just so good in that Mavs series. He had one bad game. I think that was Game 5. He had 37 DK points in 42 minutes, but every other game, 56, 59, 56, 55, 61, 66. We saw this last season. Kawhi was just so consistent in the playoffs. He pretty much gave you 50-plus fantasy points every night. You would randomly get those ceiling games when he would go for 65, close to 70. We know Kawhi has massive upside. We know he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's very closely priced to Joel Embiid. There's just a $100 difference between him and Embiid. I think I give the slight edge to Joel Embiid, but clearly Kawhi Leonard is a top pay-up option if you can fit him in. I haven't really built lineups yet, so I don't know if you can play Kawhi and Embiid together. You might can do it. If you want to go that route, I'm totally fine with that. I definitely think Kawhi is clearly a top play today. The matchup against the Jazz is not as good as the Mavs spot or going up against the Mavs, but Kawhi is so good. He's just such a good offensive player. It doesn't really matter who he's going up against, who's guarding him. The dude's going to find a way to produce and to score. So I do really like Kawhi. I think Paul George is a solid option as well. I would definitely rank Paul George behind Kawhi. Paul George probably plays maybe a few more minutes than Kawhi does. He got 46 minutes in Game 6, 43 minutes in Game 7 of the Mavs series. He was playing a little bit more than Kawhi. You probably get 40 minutes from Kawhi, maybe 42 from Paul George. Both guys are really good options. I'd give the slight edge to Kawhi if I had to choose one, but I think PG at 9K is a very solid play as well. Reggie Jackson for $5,400 was very high on him last slate, and he really disappointed. Only had 20 DK points in 28 minutes. But I'm fine going back to Reggie Jackson. We know the minutes should be there as long as he's playing well. He did get 38 minutes in Game 6. He played really well in that game. He was scoring really well. The minutes kind of came down last game. I think a lot of that had to do with maybe him not playing as well. I think the minutes might fluctuate from game to game, but it seems like most nights we're going to get at least close to 30 minutes from Reggie Jackson. If he plays at least 30 minutes, he has the potential to give you 25, 30 DK points. If he plays more than 30 minutes, he can randomly go off and give you 35, close to 40 DK points. Still do like Reggie Jackson at $5,400. Marcus Morris and Nick Batum, though, I think are both really good values. Again, on these playoff slates, I've said it so many times, it's tough to find value. There's really never a ton of guys you feel great about that are cheap. But Marcus Morris at $4,800, going to start and probably play 35 to 40 minutes. He only played 30 minutes last game, but I'm pretty sure he was in foul trouble. He did get into some early foul trouble last game, which definitely cut into his minutes. I think he would have played more had he not been in foul trouble. So at $4,800, if we're getting 35 to 40 minutes from Marcus Morris, the production, it's going to be inconsistent. There's going to be games where Marcus Morris puts up 30 DK points. There's going to be games where he puts up 20 DK points. There's going to be games where he puts up 15. It's up and down, but he's $4,800. He's going to get the minutes. I definitely like going to Marcus Morris today. Assuming they stick with the same lineup and they start him at center, I don't think that really changes too much, but I think, him being out there at center at least helps him enough to where, maybe he sees a few more rebounds, whatever the case may be. But 4,800, really do like Marcus Morris. I like him a lot on Yahoo as well. $16 over there. I think he, looks like one of the better power forward options on Yahoo. He's the same price as Royce O'Neal. If you want to go with Royce O'Neal, I'm fine with that, but I think I'd give the edge to Morris. And then Nicholas Batum. I've been playing Nicholas Batum a lot in the postseason. It feels like almost every slate I've been playing Batum. He's still too cheap in my opinion. He's $4,600 on DraftKings. He's $13 on Yahoo. Like, that's just too cheap for a guy that's going to probably start again and play 35 to 40 minutes. Game 6 of the Dallas game, he played 37 minutes. In Game 7, last game, he played 42 minutes. Like I said earlier, this is a different matchup against the Jazz. Maybe the Clippers will change up their starting lineup here. Maybe they start Zubac at center to match up with Rudy Gobert. But, hell, they started Batum at center or Marcus Morris at center last series against Boban. And we know Boban's, huge. He's like 7'2" or something. Gobert is probably about the same size. Now, obviously, Gobert is a much better offensive center than Boban is. Maybe that changes the way the way they look this game. But assuming that Batum is still in the starting lineup, I think at 4,600, he's one of the better value plays on this slate, and he's a guy that I do like for cheap. Him and Marcus Morris, I think, are good cheap options. And then I will mention Zubac just because, in a matchup against Rudy Gobert, maybe he sees increased minutes. I don't exactly know. I think if he comes off the bench still, he's going to be a risky option. But if they somehow, if they decide to move him into the starting lineup, which I think is at least somewhat possible, if Zubac does wind up starting, he'll be a great value play. The only issue is that this is the late night game, and we're not going to know the Clippers starting lineup before lock. So you're pretty much going to be guessing on Zubac. If you want to play him and hope he starts, you could do that, but it's obviously risky. The last 2 games he's only played 5 and 3 minutes. Does he play like 5 minutes today? I would think he probably plays more than that, but it's a little bit risky. I would say that there's at least potential for Zubac to play more here in a matchup against Rudy Gobert. So I did want to mention him as a punt option if you could go to, but that's really it for the Clippers. I don't see too much else I like here. So even Rondo at 3,800, his minutes have really started to trend down lately. I don't think I'm going to go there, but he's a low-owned GPP option that you could go to. We know Rondo can produce at a high rate when he does get on the floor. He could put up 25 DK points in 20 minutes and be a good value, but I have no confidence that he plays 20 minutes. He could play 10 minutes like he kind of has been these last 2 games. So yeah, that does it for the Clippers. Now talking about the Jazz before we end the video, you got Donovan Mitchell at the top here for 8,200. I really like Donovan Mitchell today. I think he's up there with Embiid, Kawhi, Embiid, Kawhi, Mitchell in terms of favorite pay-up options for me. And I think given the savings, I do prefer Mitchell over Kawhi, just given he's almost $2,000 cheaper. He's like $1,700 cheaper. I like taking the savings, playing a guy like Donovan Mitchell who feels underpriced right now. He's just too cheap on DK, 8,200. On Yahoo, he feels priced about right at $38. He's the same price as Paul George. I think most people might play Paul George. I'm not exactly sure, but definitely like Mitchell on Yahoo as well at $38. He's a guy that I have a lot of interest in from this Jazz team, and he's definitely my favorite play overall from Utah. We saw him in his first few games back from injury in that Memphis series. He kind of had his minutes limited, only 26 minutes, 30 minutes in the first 2 games, but played 35 minutes in the 3rd game he played in, and then their most recent game he played 29 minutes. I think he did get pulled a little early in that game due to blowout, but he's been really productive. 41, 49, 57 DK points his last few games. Mike Conley is currently questionable. Mike Conley did get injured in their most recent game and did not return. So there's a chance that Mike Conley could be out. If Mike Conley gets ruled out, that just makes me like Mitchell even more. If Mike Conley plays, I think Mitchell's still a really good option at 8,200. I expect him to be full go here to play his normal 36, 38 minutes. And if we're getting 36, 38 minutes from Donovan Mitchell in the postseason where he should dominate the usage, should be the number 1 scoring option, he's too cheap in my opinion at 8,200. So really like Donovan Mitchell today. I think Gobert at 7,900 is a good option. I don't think he stands out as like a top center play. I think I would rather get to Joel Embiid at the top if I can. But I think when you compare a guy like Gobert versus CAPELA, I think I would definitely give the edge to Gobert over CAPELA. Gobert is probably my second favorite center today behind Embiid. It's just that I do want to try and get Embiid at center if I can. But we know what we're getting from Gobert at this point. He's going to play 33 to 34 minutes. He's going to score around the basket. He's going to grab a ton of rebounds. If this Clippers team, if they do decide to start Marcus Morris at center or Batum at center, whatever they've been doing lately, that should definitely help Gobert's rebounding numbers. There's not really going to be any bigs out there that can match up with him down low. He should be able to dominate on the board. So definitely like Gobert. just think, you know, if I'm paying up a center today, I want to try and get to Embiid if I can. Mike Conley, though, at 7,300, I think makes a lot of sense as a low-owned tournament option. You know, depending on when we find out if he's able to play or not. Like, if we don't know, like, if Locke gets here at 7:30 and we still don't know if Conley's playing, like, he's going to be super low-owned. Nobody's going to play Mike Conley if he's questionable. So you could definitely take a shot on Mike Conley, especially if he's, you know, questionable and we don't know if he's playing. Like, if he gets ruled in, like 30 minutes before the game starts, I mean, there's a good chance that Mike Conley is like 10% owned or less than that. And anytime you can get someone with the upside that Conley has at low ownership on a 2-game slate, I definitely like going that way. I mean, we saw Embiid last slate. It was a 2-gamer. Embiid, you know, we didn't find out till like 30 minutes before the game started that Embiid was playing, and literally he was like 10% owned on a 2-game slate, which is just crazy. Like, Embiid was 10% on a 2-gamer. That could be the case today with Mike Conley. You know, we might not find out, you know, till later in the night that he's playing, and if that's the case, he's going to be low owned. Now, do I love Conley on this slate? No, but I think just ownership and, you know, the fact that nobody's going to play him at least makes him viable. But I do feel better about some of these other guys. Like, I would rather get up to Mitchell if I can. You know, in that mid range, like, you have Ben Simmons, who I probably would rather play as well, but I definitely have some interest in Conley. Like Bojan, though, Clarkson, I don't think I'm going to either one of those guys. Clarkson, though, would be viable if Conley sits. Like, if we find out during the day that Conley's out, then obviously, yeah, I really like Clarkson. I really like Ingles. For now, I'm expecting Conley to play, but obviously, if he's out, definitely love Clarkson, love Ingles. Both those guys will be great options. And then Royce O'Neal, I think, you know, 5,100, he feels a little bit too expensive for my liking, but he's been playing well lately. He's been getting the minutes. He's going to continue to get the minutes. Like, we're going to see Royce O'Neal play 33, 34 minutes on a nightly basis. The production is going to be inconsistent, but he's been consistent lately, which is at least good to see. 30, 24, 29, 39 DK points his last few games. For 5,100, you know, he feels very similar to me, like, you know, Marcus Morris, Batum, Royce O'Neal. I feel like all these guys are kind of similar plays. I prefer Morris and Batum just because they're a bit cheaper, but yeah, I think Royce O'Neal at 5,100 is viable on a 2-gamer. Don't love him, but, you know, definitely in play even at that price tag. But that's really it for the Jazz. I don't see too much else here I like. None of these bench guys are playable in my opinion. So, yeah, that does it for both of these 2 games on Tuesday night, guys. Hope you did enjoy this video. I do appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to click that like button down below. Click that subscribe button as well. And also hit the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also do get notified every time I live stream. And once again, guys, I will be live Tuesday afternoon around 5:30 Eastern. So if you guys do want to come and hang out in the stream, I'll be live breaking down the slate, you know, talking through everything, answering all your guys' questions as always. So be sure to tune into the live stream Tuesday afternoon. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and yeah, guys, I think that's it for the video. Best of luck tonight. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. Peace.